Hello guys, greetings from Placements Key. I welcome you all to the lecture series on the TCS NQT previous year questions. Today I'll be covering questions which was taken from the exam which was conducted on October 21st, and this is slot 1 based. Okay, this is the first part, post which I'll also be releasing the second part. What is the value of, okay, some value is given here and we are supposed to compute this. It is 1.59 square plus 8.46, I'm sorry, 8.46 into 0.53 plus 9 into so on. So I'll write it as a square, okay, as in b square, okay, 3 into 0.47 whole square. Now we'll have to see whether this is of the form 2 into a into b. See, this is a square. Let me also write it. This a square and this is b square. So we will have to check whether this is of the form 2 into a 1.59 to b is 3 into 0.47. Okay, if we also simplify this, so what do we get? We 2 into 1.59 into 1.5. What is 47 into 3? 47 into 3. Let me write it. 3 7 21 3 4. So it is 1.41. I'm sorry. So this is into 1.41. So let's see, this value is of the form this. Okay, so for that let's see. First we have a 2. So I'm writing it as 2 into 8.46. So it is 4.23 into 0.53. And we also know that we have a 1.59, so which is thrice of 0.53. So let's write it as 2 into, let's divide 4.23 by 3, 14.1. I'm sorry, it is 1.41, right? 1.41 and 0.53 into 3, we get 1.5. See, we've got the same value, isn't it? So therefore this is of the form what? A square plus 2 into a into b, yeah, plus b square. So what is it? This is of the form a plus b whole square, which is 1.59 plus 1.41 whole square, which is 3 square, which is 9. Is it clear? We are just checking whether this is of the form 2ab or not. And yes, we have concluded, yeah. See, this and this are same. Therefore, we can say that it's of the form a square plus 2ab plus b square. Therefore, it is a plus b whole square, 3 square, that is 9. Okay, for a group frequency distribution having 8 classes, okay, there are 8 classes. The upper class boundary of the lowest and the highest are given. So this is given as 6 and then this is given as 66. Okay, this is the upper class of the lowest class, sorry, upper limit of the lowest class, and this is the upper limit of the highest class. These values are given. Now we are supposed to compute the lower class boundary of the highest class. We are supposed to compute this value. Okay, there are a few ground rules, which is the difference between the lower limit and upper limit of a class is always equal to width. Let's say, let me remove these values. Okay, let's say if this is 6 and then the width is, let's say, 5. So this value will always be 6 plus 5, that is 11, and this 11 comes here. If it's a continuous, if these are continuous class intervals, this 11 comes here. Again we'll add 5 to it because width is 5. 11 plus 5, that is 16. Again the 16 comes here. Again width is 5, so 16 plus 5, 21. So what can we observe? The difference between the lower limit and upper limit of a class is always equal to width. See, what is the difference between lower and upper? It is 5. Even here it is 5. Even here it is 5. Yeah, and then also the difference between two adjacent lower limits or upper limits is equal to width. That is, see here, what is the difference between these two? It is 5. This is also 5 and this is also 5 and this is also 5. Therefore the difference between two adjacent lower limits or the difference between two adjacent upper limits, this is also equal to the width. Okay, so with this theory we can solve this question. Okay, what are given as told earlier, this is given as 6, this is given as 66. Let's assume the width to be a h. Okay, let's assume that to be h. So if this is 6, this is 6 plus h, and this is 6 plus 2h because we add h more, and then again this is 6 plus 3h, this is 6 plus 4h, 6 plus 5h, 6 plus 6h, and this will be 6 plus 7h. Yeah, so but we already know the value 66, so 66 is equal to 6 plus 7h. So we get 7h is equal to have we taken, I'm sorry, this is 10, right? the highest, I'm sorry, the upper class boundaries of the lowest and the highest is 10 and 66. It's 10, it's not 6, I'm sorry. So replace with 10 everywhere, okay? It's 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and this is 10 plus 7h. So therefore we get 10 plus 7h is 66. So 7h is equal to 56. You get the value of h as 8. We know that if this is 8, if the width is 8, so if this is 66, this is supposed to be 66 minus 8, which is 58. Therefore, the lower class boundary of the highest class. This is the lower limit of the highest class, which is 58. Option C. Next, the average score in mathematics of a class increases by 10% if the total marks secured by number of students who form 20% of the class strength and whose average score is 48 is not included. What is the actual average score? Okay, so now let's assume that the average score, the actual average score is 10A. Okay, and let's assume there are 10N students. Just for simplification, okay, let's assume the total average score is 10A and then there are 10N students. Now tell me, what is the sum of scores? We know sum is equal to what? Average into n. So which is 10A into 10N, which is 100 into A. Okay, till now it's clear, right? Now they've told some statement here. See, the average decreases by 10% when if the students who form 20% of the class strength whose average is 48 is not included. So this is the understanding of it. If 20% of the students, which is 2n, whose average is 48 is excluded. If 2n students are excluded, how many students will be remaining? It is 8n. Okay. Now the average of the remaining students increases by 10%. So average of the remaining students 8n increases by 10%. So if it is 10A, it becomes 11A. Okay. Now what does it mean? What is the sum of scores then? We know the average, we know the number of students. The sum will be 11 into 8, that is 88 into A into n. Therefore, what can we conclude from these two? If we subtract these two, okay, the average of the remaining 2n students should be how much? Okay, first let me compute the remaining students 2n, 10n minus 8n, and then what is the sum of the scores of these 2n students? 100an minus 88an, which is 12an. So we know the sum and we know the number, therefore what should be the average? It is 12an divided by 2n. So n cancel, 2 ones to 6. Therefore his average is supposed to be 6a, as in the average of these 2n students is supposed to be 6a, which is given as 48. So 6a is equal to 48. So you get a as how much? 8. Therefore now what are we supposed to find? The average score of all the students, which is 10a. So 10 into 8 gives you 8. This is the catch. Okay, if 2n students are excluded, the average increased by 10%. So we have excluded 2n, so we have got 8n students. Now average increased by 10%, so that is 11a. So sum is supposed to be 88an. Therefore we get, if you subtract, you get 12an and 2n. So average is supposed to be 6a, which is given as 48. And then you can solve the question further. If this value is a minus b root 35. Let me write it. Root 7 plus root 5 by root 7 minus root 5. Let's multiply this with root 7 plus root 5. This also with root 7 plus root 5. So we get what? It is a plus b whole square, right? So you get a square root 7 whole square plus b square plus 2 into root of 7 into 5, 35. Divided by this a minus b into a plus b, which is a square minus b square. So what do we get? We get it as 12 plus 2 root 35 by 2. So we can cancel out 2, right? 2 ones, 2 6 12, 2 ones. So what is the value that we have got it as? 6 plus square root of 35. It's given that this value is equal to a minus b root 35. So on comparison, clearly on comparison, what do we get? We get the value of a as 6, and then what is the value of b? B is equal to minus 1. Yeah, we get the value of a as 6 and b is equal to minus 1. Okay, now what are we supposed to compute? The value of a minus 2b. So a is 6 minus 2b. 2b is minus 2. So you get 6 plus 2, that is 8. It's a very easy question. Okay. We are told that 4 men and 2 women can do a piece of work in one day. So 4 men and 2 women, 2 women can do a piece of work in, can do the total work in a day. We are given that woman is twice as efficient as a man. Therefore, the work done by 4 men will be done by how many women? It's only 2 women, right? Think about it. Women is twice as efficient as a man. So the work done by 4 men is done only by 2 women. Therefore, if only women were to work, how many women are required to finish the work? It is 4 women. 2 women, equivalent of 2 women here and 2 women here. So 4 women can finish the total work in a day. Therefore, one woman can do the total work in how many days? 4 women one day. So one woman should take what? More time. So just 4 days. Is it clear? The answer is not 1 by 4. Okay, the answer is 4. 4 women can finish the work in a day. Therefore, one woman can do the total work in 4 days. Next, the average marks scored by students of 4 towns A, B, C, D. Okay, in English and Hindi. So blue represents English, and then orange represents Hindi. So these are the 4 districts A, B, C, D. How much percentage are the average marks in Hindi above that of the highest marks among the towns in average in English? Sorry. Okay, so first we are supposed to find the average marks of Hindi. Okay, average marks scored by students of 4 towns in Hindi. So how do we take it? Hindi is orange, right? So this is 60, this is 80, this is 70, this is also 70. So what is the average? 60 plus 80 plus 70 plus 70 divided by 4. What do we get? 70, 70, 140 plus 60, 200, 280 by 4 is 70. Therefore, the average marks scored by students of 4 towns in Hindi is 70. Now, what is the highest mark scored among the 4 towns in English? See, that's what they told, right? Highest marks among the towns in English. English is blue. What is the highest value? It is here, right? Which is how much? It is 60. Okay, that's also given. Now, what are we supposed to find? We are supposed to find the percentage increase from 60 to 70. That's what they told, right? The percentage increase from the average marks of the highest marks in English to the average scores of Hindi, which is what? 60 to 70. So what is the increase from 60 to 70? So 10 is increased from 60. So the answer is 16.67%. 1 by 6 is 16.67, right? So the answer is 16.67%. Option C. Raju buys 3 goats and 2 sheep for rupees 11,600. Okay, so let G be the cost price of a goat and S be the cost price of a sheep. Therefore, what can we say? We can say that 3 goats and 2 sheep, right? So the cost price of 3 goats is 3G and 2 sheep is 2S, and this value is given as 11,600. Okay, now he sold the goat at a 20% profit. So what is the profit that he earns on selling the goats? It is 20% of the cost price of the 3 goats, which is 3G. Okay, this is a profit that he earns by selling the goats at 20% profit, and then he sold the sheep at 10% loss. So what is the loss? Loss is how much? It is 10% of what? 10% of the cost price of the 2 sheep, which is 2S, and this value is given as 1000. Yeah, the profit that he earned minus the loss incurred by selling sheep, effectively he has got 1000 rupees profit. So what do we get? 0.2 into 3G. Let me write it directly. So we get 0.6G minus 0.2S is equal to 1000. Let's multiply by 10. 6G minus 2S is equal to 1000. Okay, now see here, we are supposed to find the cost of one sheep, so we need S value. So if we add these two equations directly, the S gets eliminated. So let's eliminate the G value. We have a 3G here, we have a 6G here, so multiply this by 2. So what do we get? 6G plus 4S is equal to 11 into 2, so 22 plus 600 into 2, 1200. Yeah, we get 6G plus 4S is equal to 23,200, and we already have 6G minus 2S is equal to 10,000. We multiply by 10, right? So it is 10,000. Okay, 1000 into 10. Now let's simplify this. What do we get? Let's subtract. subtract. So G gets cancelled, we get 6s is equal to 23,200 minus 10,000, 13,200. Therefore S is equal to, let's divide, you get how much? 6 2s 12, 6 2s 12, 0 0. So what is the cost price of one sheep? One sheep, it is 2,200 rupees, which is option D. It's just equations, okay? Solving the equations, we get the answer. A train starting from station X was to arrive at 6 p.m. Okay, now it could travel at so much speed and reach late. At what time did it start from X? Let X be the usual speed and T be the usual time. So what is the distance that he would have covered? He would have covered the distance equal to X into T. Now he's traveling at 62.5% of his usual speed. 62.5% fraction is what? 5 by 8, right? So this is his speed now. Okay, 5 by X, 5 by 8 into, okay, let me take S, that's easy, right? S is the usual speed, so the speed is now 5 by 8 into S, and he reaches at 7 p.m. He used to reach at 6, he's reaching at 7, so he's taking how much more time? He's taking 54 minutes more. Yes, 6 to 7, so 54 minutes I'm converting into hours. Okay, so many hours. So, and you know, when we are multiplying the speed with time, you get the distance. We know that whether he travels faster or slower, the distance doesn't change, yeah, because the speed is same, yeah. Therefore let's equate the distances. So what do we get? S into T is equal to 5 by 8 into S into T plus 6 9 6 10s, T plus 9 by 10 hours. So we get SS cancel, so if 8 goes here, you get 8T is equal to 5T plus 5 into 9 by 10, 45 by 10. So we get 5 9s, 5 2s, yeah. So we get 3T is equal to 9 by 2. So what does that mean? What is the value of T? T is equal to 3 by 2, that is 1.5 hours. Therefore, he usually takes 1.5 hours to reach the destination. Okay, that is the usual time. Therefore, let's say he reached station Y at 6. Let's say he reached at 6. So when should he have started? He should have started at 4:30. Yeah, are you understanding? Let's say he reaches the station Y at 6. He should start at 1.5 before earlier. Therefore, he should have started at 4:30. But since he reached at 6, therefore just add 6 minutes to it. So when does he start? He starts at 4:36 p.m. Is that clear? So option C. Equating distances, you get the answer easily here. Yeah. So the train should have started at what? 4:36 p.m. from X. Okay. The sum of two numbers is 2604 and their HCF is 124. So let's assume the numbers to be 124x and 124y, where x and y are co-primes. Okay. Why co-primes? Because if they are not co-primes, the HCF will not be 124. Let's say x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 4. Then HCF will be, will the HCF be 124? No. HCF will be 124 into 2 because they also have 2 common. Therefore, what I'm saying is x and y has to be co-prime. Okay, fine. The sum is given as 2604. So what do we get? You get, if we take 124 common, you get x plus y is equal to 2604 by 124, which is 21. Yeah, 2604 by 124 is 21. Okay, so we've got this value. Okay, x plus y as 21, where x and y are co-primes. Please remember this. If x and y are not co-primes, then the HCF of the numbers will not be 124. Okay. What is the smaller number between them if the difference is the least possible? So the difference between them is the least possible. The least possible difference between them is 1 because we are assuming that they are integers. Okay. Therefore, the least possible difference between them is 1. Therefore, what do we get? We get 2x is equal to 22. Therefore, we get the value of x as how much? 11. If x is 11, what is the value of y? It is 10. Because 11 minus 10 gives us 1. Okay, you know x and you know y. What are we supposed to find? The smaller number between them. So what is the smallest between them? We know the numbers are 124x and 124y. Yeah. So the smaller number will be 124 into 10. Yeah, 124 into 10, which is 1240. See, clearly we have got the values as 11 and 10, right? See, 11 and 10 are co-primes. They don't have anything in common between them. Yeah. Therefore, the smaller of the two numbers is 124 into y, which is 1240. Okay. In how many ways can x give rupees 500 to y using only 100 rupee notes and 20 rupee notes? And then he has 16 20 rupee notes. And now we'll have to use the notes of both the denominations. See, now he's told that there are only 16 rupee notes. There are only 16 notes of rupees 20. Okay. It doesn't mean that he's distributing all the 16 notes. Is it clear? See, let A be the number of 100 rupee notes distributed. Okay. Let A be the number of 100 rupee notes. And then what is the value of A 100 rupee notes? Each note values 100 rupees. So A notes have the value of 100A. Similarly, let assume that B be the number of 20 rupee notes distributed. Therefore, what is the value now? Value is equal to 20B. Okay. Now, what is the total value that is distributed? It is 100A plus 20B. Okay. Therefore, what is the equation now? Total sum distributed 100A plus 20B. This value is equal to how much? 500. So let's divide this by 20. You get 5A plus B is equal to 25. 22 is 50, 20. Yeah. 22 is 40 and 100, 25 is 100. So this is what is the equation that you get. 5A plus B is equal to 25. So now let me explain the question once again. See, they are trying to distribute 500 to Y using 100 rupee notes and 20 rupee notes. Okay. The condition is he has to use the notes of both the denominations. That is, he can't give all 100 rupee notes or all 20 rupee notes. Okay. He has to give both of them. Okay. At least one of them. Yeah. Fine. Now, how many possible ways are there? So we get 5A plus B is equal to 25. Now, if we look at this is a multiple of 5, and 25 is a multiple of 5. This is a multiple of 5 and this is also a multiple of 5. Therefore, clearly B should also be a multiple of 5. Is that clear? If this is a multiple of 5 and this is a multiple of 5, B has definitely be multiple of 5. We know that B can't be 0 because we know that we'll have to use the notes of both the denominations. Therefore, let's start B from 5. If B is 5, what do we get the value of A? 5A plus 5 is equal to 25. You get the value of A as 4. 5A is 20, A is equal to 4. Okay, this is one possible combination. Next, what is the next multiple of 5? Next multiple of 5, which is 10. Therefore, if B is 10, what happens? 5A plus 10 is equal to 25. So you get A value as 3. Yeah. So A value is 3. Possible. What is the next multiple of 5, which is 15? So let me write 15 here. So we get 5A plus 15 is equal to 25. So you get the value of A as 2. So this is also possible. Now, what is the next multiple of B? It is next multiple of 5, which is 20. You got the logic, right? The value of B has to be multiple of 5. So we'll take that as an anchor, and from there we are trying to find the relevant A values as. Yeah. If this is a multiple of 5 and this is a multiple of 5, this has to be multiple of 5. It can't be 0 because we'll have to use the notes of both the denominations. Therefore, we have started with 5. 5, 10, 15, then let's say 20. If it is 20, what do we get? We get 5A plus 20 is equal to 25. You get the value of A as 1. This will be 1. Now think about it. Okay, fine. So let's also take the next multiple of 5, which is 25. If this is 25, A value will be 0. Yeah, because 5A plus 25 equal to 25, A is equal to 0. Now think about it. Is this possible at all? 0 is not possible because we'll have to distribute notes of both the denominations. So this is not possible. Okay. So I'm eliminating this. Okay. Similarly, is this combination possible 1 and 20? We are told that we only have 16 notes of rupees 20. Okay, but we are distributing 20 notes of rupees 20 here, which is not possible. Eliminate. Now all the other three are possible. See, we have 15. This is 20 rupee notes, right? 20 rupee notes, and this is 100 rupee notes. See, we are distributing 15 20 rupee notes and 2 100 rupee notes. Yeah? So how many possible ways? In how many possible ways can we distribute? We can distribute in only 3 ways. Okay, 4 5 3 10 2 15. That is 400 rupee notes and 520 rupee notes, or 300 rupee notes and 10 20 rupee notes, or 200 rupee notes and 15 20 rupee notes. So we have only 3 ways in all. Therefore it is option B. I hope these questions are clear. Please subscribe to our channel to watch more such videos. I'll be uploading the second part of TCS NQT test which was conducted on 26 October and it's a slot 1 based. Okay, I've covered 10 questions now. In the next video I'll be covering 10 more questions. Thank you everyone.